My parents called me crying 2 weeks before Christmas, claiming they were facing severe money problems and had to cancel the holidays entirely. No tree, no family dinner, nothing. They begged me to understand and even asked me to skip visiting so they could save on hosting costs. I felt heartbroken for them, so I stayed back in my apartment and ate microwave leftovers alone on Christmas Eve. But just before midnight, my phone buzzed. My younger sister had accidentally gone live on Instagram. I clicked the notification and my jaw dropped. There they were. My mom, my dad, my sister, and the rest of the extended family, clinking crystal glasses at a lavish, catering-funded champagne party in a rented luxury cabin. They weren't broke. I was just completely excluded. And the worst part? The very next morning, my dad had the nerve to text me asking for $2,000. My name is Charlotte, and at 32 years old, I always thought I had a solid handle on who my parents were. I was the reliable, self-sufficient older daughter, the one they called when a tire blew out or when an unexpected bill caught them off guard. But nothing could have prepared me for the devastating phone call I received just 2 weeks before Christmas. My mother's voice was trembling, thick with tears, as my dad took over the speakerphone to paint a bleak, suffocating picture of their sudden money problems. They claimed they were on the absolute brink of financial ruin, facing shortfalls so severe that they had no choice but to cancel the holidays entirely. No tree, no family dinner, nothing, Charlotte, my dad choked out. They begged me to understand and explicitly asked me to skip my annual trip home just to save them the sheer humiliation and the hosting costs. Broken into pieces for them, I agreed without a second thought. I stayed back in my quiet apartment, spending my Christmas Eve listening to the wind howl outside while eating microwave leftovers completely alone. I felt a deep, aching sorrow for my struggling parents, wishing I could do more to fix their life. But the universe has a strange way of letting the truth slip out when people get sloppy. Before we continue, I have a quick question for you watching. Have your parents ever blatantly favored your sibling over you? Comment your city and your story below. I want to see how far my story has reached. The quiet of my apartment felt heavy, the only sound being the low hum of the refrigerator as the clock crawled toward midnight on Christmas Eve. I was just about to turn off the television and head to bed when my phone, resting on the coffee table, suddenly buzzed. A social media notification lit up the screen. It was an alert stating that my younger sister Maya had just gone live on Instagram. Thinking it was probably just a mistake or a quick holiday greeting she was broadcasting to her friends, I casually tapped the notification. My breath caught in my throat, and my jaw dropped. The screen didn't show a cramped, dimly lit room or a stressed-out sibling. Instead, the camera panned across a massive, high-end winter cabin constructed of gleaming log beams and towering glass windows. A roaring fireplace cast a warm, golden glow over an elaborately decorated 12-foot Christmas tree stacked high with flawlessly wrapped, expensive gifts. In the background, a beautifully arranged buffet table overflowed with premium, top-tier catering, complete with a private chef adjusting silver platters. But it was the people that made my blood run cold. There they were, my mom, my dad, my sister, and practically our entire extended family. They were all dressed in formal attire, laughing merrily and clinking crystal glasses together at what was clearly a lavish, catered champagne party. They weren't broke. They weren't facing financial ruin. The entire money problem narrative was an absolute lie, fabricated completely just to keep me away. The betrayal stung like ice water, keeping me awake until the sky outside my window turned a dull, winter gray. It was officially Christmas morning. I sat on my couch with my phone in my hand, half expecting a text message offering an apology, or at least some poorly constructed excuse from someone who realized Maya had gone live. But when my phone finally chimed, the notification wasn't an apology at all. It was a text from my father. There was no "Merry Christmas," and there was no inquiry about how I was holding up alone. Instead, he boldly asked me to wire him $2,000 immediately. He claimed it was for an urgent, unexpected rent shortfall on their property, writing that if I didn't send it right away, they would face severe legal penalties and risk losing everything after the holidays. Sitting there in the cold morning light, the pieces of the puzzle fell into place with terrifying precision. They hadn't lost their money to some tragic financial crisis. They had willingly blown their own savings on a lavish, catering-funded holiday blowout to impress the rest of the family, completely excluding me from the joy. And now, they fully expected me to foot the bill for their actual, real-world living expenses so they wouldn't have to face the consequences of their overreach. In that exact moment, the deep sadness and longing I felt vanished entirely, replaced by an absolute freezing clarity about my true position in this family. I dialed my father's number immediately, refusing to let the automated wire transfer go through this time. When he answered, his voice carried that casual, expectant tone he always used when he wanted a favor. "Charlotte, did you get my message?" he asked, completely oblivious to the storm brewing on my end. I didn't waste time on pleasantries. I told him straight out that I had seen Maya's Instagram livestream the night before. I described the luxury cabin, the catered buffet, and the crystal glasses they were clinking together while I sat alone eating microwave leftovers. The silence on the line was deafening. Then, the sputtering began. My father stumbled over his words, his voice shifting into a high-pitched panic as he tried to construct a weak, desperate line of defense. He claimed that Maya had somehow won a sweepstakes for the cabin rental, and that the rest of the extended family had secretly chipped in for the catering to surprise them. I refused to sit through another second of their blatant gaslighting. The illusion was shattered. I cut him off mid-sentence and delivered my final, unyielding ultimatum. "Stay out of my life, all of you." Before he could utter another empty excuse, I hung up the phone. I immediately opened my apps and blocked my dad, my mom, and my sister across every single platform. Then, I logged into my bank account and permanently canceled the automated monthly financial support I'd been sending them for years. The quiet that followed was brief. By 7 a.m. the next morning, the reality of my actions had clearly collided with their holiday hangover. The financial faucet they had relied on for years was officially dry, and they were spinning into a collective panic. Because I had completely blocked their primary phone numbers and social media accounts, the digital fortress I built forced them to get desperate. My phone began lighting up with calls from spoofed numbers, old landlines, and workplace accounts I hadn't thought to restrict. When those attempts failed to get a response, the flying lines of communication shifted to our extended relatives. My phone buzzed with an influx of guilt-tripping text messages from aunts, uncles, and even distant cousins who had been present at the luxury cabin. My mother had apparently weaponized the entire family directory, telling everyone that I was destroying the family fabric over a minor communication misunderstanding. One particularly aggressive text from an aunt claimed that my father's credit score was going to be completely ruined within days if I didn't send the $2,000 infusion to cover their actual rent. They painted me as a heartless, vindictive daughter who was holding a petty grudge over a party, entirely ignoring the systematic deception they had practiced. But sitting in my apartment, listening to the persistent vibration of my phone, I didn't feel an ounce of guilt. For the first time in my adult life, I saw the situation with absolute clarity. I realized exactly how much of their comfortable lifestyle and superficial family harmony depended entirely on my unappreciated labor, my silent sacrifices, and my financial stability. They didn't miss me at that cabin, they just missed my money. It didn't take long for the final veneer of their lies to completely wash away. A few days into the new year, I received a private message from an honest cousin who had attended the gathering. She had grown deeply uncomfortable with the narrative my parents were spinning to the rest of the family, and she felt I deserved to know the real reason behind my exclusion. It turned out that the lavish cabin gathering wasn't just a random Christmas celebration at all. It was a surprise engagement party for my younger sister Maya. But the detail that truly made my stomach churn was what happened during the main toast. My parents had stood up in front of everyone and proudly presented Maya with a massive, life-changing check to serve as a down payment for her dream house. As my cousin explained the timeline, the math became blindingly obvious. That down payment didn't come from my parents' hard work or some sudden financial windfall. It was funded entirely by the emergency money I had been systematically saving and sending them over the past 2 years to help with their fabricated health scares and bills. They had taken my hard-earned sacrifices, weaponized my empathy, and handed it all to my sister on a silver platter while telling me they couldn't afford a single plate of food for me. This final revelation completely cemented my decision. Any lingering doubts or guilt I had harbored vanished into thin air. I knew, with absolute certainty, that I would never look back. They didn't view me as a daughter. They viewed me as a bank account to fund Maya's life. 3 months later, the dust has finally settled, and I can honestly say that moving forward was the greatest choice I could have made. The immense peace of mind and financial freedom I've experienced since completely cutting off those leeches is something I can't even put into words. It turns out that when you stop funding other people's fabricated emergencies and ungrateful lifestyles, your own life becomes incredibly stable and quiet. I used to carry so much anxiety about keeping my family afloat, but setting those hard, unapologetic boundaries was the best gift I have ever given to myself. Now, I'm truly curious about all of you who have listened to my story today. What would you have done if you were in my shoes and saw that Instagram live stream on Christmas Eve? Would you have confronted them right away, or would you have sent the $2,000 just to keep the peace? Comment your thoughts below. I read every single one. In the meantime, I'm leaving 2 other incredible stories on the final screen right now. They are absolute channel favorites, and the twists in them will definitely surprise you. Thank you so much for watching all the way until the end, and I will see you in the next story.